Hi, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I am so excited to be here today with Olivia Galgano. My name is Laura Van Dyke, and I'm the co-owner and co-director, along with Nicole Menke, or as most people know her, Nikki Manx, of Heart in Motion, which is a studio in Ridgewood, New Jersey. And I am lucky enough to be there in much thanks to Olivia as well as Lynn Needle, who we're co-directors and original founders of Art of Motion, which was the studio that was there prior to us at 17 Chestnut Street. So I'm very excited to get to talk with Olivia today and to share with all of you a little bit about her from her own mouth and her own words. Let's get started. So Olivia, first question for you. What do you teach? What do you
What
teach?
do
What do you teach?
I teach classical ballet, all kinds of it, variations, point work. That is my specialty, is ballet. I've had in the past some training, believe it or not, in Spanish dancing, not too much in jazz, but ballet is certainly my one prone, most comfortable and most dance genre that I really am proficient at. Thank you very much. So,
Yeah, Olivia teaches, for those of you that don't know what classes, she teaches ballet. Currently, she teaches ballet for our adult program. She has a Wednesday 10 a.m. class that's sort of an intermediate level. Friday, which is our most advanced class of the week at 10 a.m. as well. Saturday at 10 a.m. also. That's the Saturday class is more of an intermediate level as well. And then when she's not teaching at BCC, she's often teaching on Tuesday nights. Which I'm teaching at the moment while we're on Zoom. But for now, you at least still have your Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, which we love having you teach on Zoom for us while we're all, distant from the studio. So before teaching, can you tell us a little bit about what your career looked like? You can talk about
right, well,
Art of Motion Dance Theater, your professional career.
I'll give you the whole background. And in reference to what Laura just said, I did teach children for a very long time when I started, all levels, okay? And right now I am concentrating mostly on adults. I find that there are a lot of adults in the area that have had some type of training or performing in the ballet world, and they love to dance, but there's no comfortable place for them to be. And that's something that Heart in Motion, coming from Art of Motion, really has very, very comfortable adult classes in all genres of dance. So keep that in mind for the future also, okay? So anyway, I want to give you the beginning of my story. How did I start dancing? That was one of the questions.
Yes.
I was a young little girl, and my father had a wonderful friend who used to treat us to a lot of special affairs. And he got tickets for the Sadler Wells, which was at the time, now it's the Royal Ballet, Sadler Wells Ballet, performing in Boston, doing A Sleeping Beauty, okay? And we had tickets to go see that. My family and my father was a partner with his brother in a business, fruit business, and they both got tickets, both families. We went to the Boston Opera House. I think I must have been 5 or 6. We sat in center box seats, believe it or not. I'll never remember that. It wasn't until I got older that I realized what it was all about. And we saw The Sleeping Beauty, and I left there, and I got home, and I said to my mother, oh, I really want to dance. And she said, I'd love it. And that's how they started me in ballet world. And I started up in Boston, taking ballet classes with a local studio. And then we found the Boston Ballet, Virginia Williams, who I attribute my fact that I'm even dancing to this day. And that's how I started. So then I was with the study with Virginia Williams. She was very encouraging. She was a wonderful teacher, director, choreographer. And from there, all my whole years, I never did much in school. I mean, I was a good student, but I didn't get involved in too much after school work because I was running to ballet classes after school every single time. So got through the high school, and Virginia Williams, bless her soul, brought me to New York every summer when we were like 16, 17, 18, studied in New York at the different schools because at the time Boston wasn't a company yet. And we studied in New York and somehow got connected. Went to New York, I'll make the story shorter. So went to New York and went there on my own as I graduated high school. I wanted to join the year before, but my father wouldn't let me. He wanted me to finish high school before I would try to audition. So I did. I listened to him. And I went to New York after I finished graduating high school, took the audition with Ballet Russe, and was very, very fortunate and very lucky. I look back to this day and think how much a blessing that was, and got accepted to the company. So there I was, 17 years old, dancing with a professional ballet company, Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo, with great, great dancers. And I must say at this point, who do I have to thank for my career? First of all, lots of people, but first and foremost, my parents. Because don't forget, I came from a very conservative, very insulated Italian family up in Boston. How they let me go to New York and even audition and accept the fact that I was going off on tour at 17, to this day, I don't understand, and I'm very thankful for. So that's something that a lot of people can understand that. So that was it. I traveled with the company 5 years, some of the highlight. Oh, before I left, the only other highlight of my dance career was at Virginia Williams, when I was in the senior group, the senior. Leon Danielian, a very famous ballerina, dancer, male dancer, came to Boston. Virginia knew lots of beautiful, wonderful people, choreographed on me a ballet called Rustic Wedding. That was one of the highlights of my younger career. And I danced that with Earl Seveling at the time, who since passed away. But anyway, that was a big, big moment in my life. It was wonderful. And what's really interesting is when the company, the Boston Ballet Company, developed, the Rustic Wedding was still left in their repertoire. And I was the original dancer, that was choreographed on. So that's just a little tidbit. Wow. Anyway, but off into the Ballet Russe I am. I danced mostly quarter ballet, did some soloist girls. One of the ones I loved was doing Turn Girl and Gaité Parisienne and Sombrero. There was a little solo position. So all of that was wonderful. I love dancing. The company was getting to the end, and I had met my husband in New York. So I didn't join up for the last year, but I knew it was not going to last much longer anyway. And I stopped dancing with the company, did local kind of things. Then I went off and started doing a little bit of teaching, but just dancing on the side, whatever it was open, And then I started into teaching, and took a while before I really took to the teaching. But as time goes on and as the years went on, I realized I had the ability to try to share my love for the ballet, classical ballet, and to try to help any of the young dancers who would like to do this. So that's how that beginning all started. And then I started teaching. So I started for school in Jersey and blah, blah, blah. And then finally, got into my own. What else do you want to know, Laura? Is that
Yeah, you had a studio in Closter for a bit, right?
And I had a studio in Closter before I came here to Ridgewood. Yes, we started the studio with a friend of mine there, and that was very successful as well. But then we were losing the license on the rent, etc. And I got together with Lynn Needle, my friend, and I always say this, my friend, she lived right across the street from Lynn, okay? And she was the one that was so responsible for us getting together, okay? So she mentioned something to Lynn, okay? And about me, and she mentioned me to Lynn. So I went up and took one of Lynn's classes, her floor bar, okay? And sure enough, we sort of hit it off a little bit. And she was looking to start a studio, and I was ready to move on with her, So Trish is my friend Trish, okay? Trish Benzing, yeah. If any of you probably know her. And we always say, both of us say, she was the one a very positive factor in getting us together, I have to say. So we got together, and what was so nice was that was a time when, with her background in the modern world and mine in the classical ballet world, that was a time when the ballet and the modern was beginning to really meld very nicely, okay? The companies were beginning to do lots of work in the modern world and vice versa. So the timing of our being together was very, very, I think, perfect in many, many ways. And we enjoyed it. It was great. We started the school together, and a few years down the road, we started the company, the American, which is the Art of Motion Dance Theater. And we've done wonderful things with that. I love choreographing.
I said you still have a piece in the works that's, right? A piece in the works of Art of Motion Dance Theater.
Yes, exactly. It was an opportunity which I love to choreograph. It's interesting because I thought mostly every dancer could choreograph, but that really isn't true. I guess I sort of had kind of a feeling for it, but I also came from a teacher, Virginia Williams, who was a beautiful choreographer. So I saw how it was even done. I'm sure that had something and some influence on me to become, as comfortable as I am with choreographing as I. So with the studio in Closter, we did some performing also with a short company, and then also some choreographing. And then with Lynn, it's took off. We've done wonderful things here. Some of the highlights of that end up being dancing at Jacob's Pillow, which is definitely one of the best icons of the dance world for sure. And dancing there was definitely a highlight. And when we went there, I remember actually dancing there as a young girl with Virginia Williams, because I lived up in Massachusetts. So I actually danced there as a young dancer. And then here I was now an older person doing some choreography with Lynn. And sure enough, we performed there. And the other place was Ted Med, performing in the Kennedy Center. Those are highlights. And lots of little places in New York that we've performed at too. So it's been, the company also has exacerbated very nicely for me and for her. And it's helped me with choreographing, which I love to do. So that's so far. What else do you want to know? Can I give you?
Just to take a question back to your performing career out of curiosity, a part of it is about your performing career. So you mentioned one of your favorite pieces to dance, and I was curious what your favorite ballets are, or favorite ballet if it's singular. And is your favorite ballet to dance the same as your favorite ballet of all time, or are they two different ones? Do you have one that's your favorite to watch versus one that was your favorite to dance?
My very, 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 very favorite ballet. If I were to name the top 5, okay, the top 1 has to be Giselle, okay? That's my very favorite ballet. And the thing about Giselle that's so special to me is when I was with Ballet Russe Monte Carlo, okay, we had Alicia Alonso, if you know her, most of you do, I'm hoping, who danced with the company, okay? She came and was guest artist with us one of those years. And I was on the stage, I get goosebumps even thinking about it, dancing Giselle with Alicia Alonso. I mean, that was one of the highlights of my whole dance life, I have to say. And I had a hard time holding my head not to turn it to look at her all the time as we stood on stage. But that, I have to say, that's my very favorite ballet to dance, to watch. And as I performed it, and I know every step by heart. I could watch that ballet when I go to the ballet and I watch it, and I think I dance the whole thing with them. I'm exhausted when I finish. But she's a very special lady. She was at the time, as you know, she had trouble with her vision. And, Igor Yaskevich was with her also, and he used to lead her off the stage, and help her and everything. She managed unbelievable. It was before she got very bad. But that was definitely, I have pictures with her, and she is definitely one of the most beautiful dancers ever. She was amazing because she had great technique at a time when technique wasn't as well done as it is today. So yes, Giselle's my favorite, dance and to watch, and having performed with Alicia Alonso just is the piece de resistance, as they say. Anyway.
That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. I love it. Okay, so just, you sort of already touched on how you got into teaching, but other than that moment being a huge part of your life, who else was a big inspiration for you in the dance world? And it doesn't have to be ballet, but it can be ballet. So anyone that you feel like was a huge influence for you?
Okay, well, beside, Virginia Williams was the reason I'm even here, as you know. People in the company, in the Ballet Russe company, there were quite a few dancers there that were like, I was one of the youngest ones, and one with this other young girl, Gail. We were both the 2 young ones in the company. And all the other people, they were like our surrogate mothers, I want to say. They took care of us very nicely and watched out for us. So they were influential. There's Meredith Bayless and Perry Bayless and people like that. Anyway, and then, as I went on, I have to say one of my favorite teachers was Madame Anderson, who was, in New York City. A lot of people know her. And then as I got a little bit further along, the one that I really also attribute a lot to was David Howard, because I was, when I got into the teaching aspect of it, I go out and took a seminar with him. A friend of mine went up to one of the colleges, Bard College in New York, and we took a seminar with David Howard, which was very, 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 educational. I learned an awful lot from that, So he's one that I was and Maggie Black, a few of the teachers in the ballet world that I really love. And of course, the dancers, Paloma Herrera was one of my favorite dancers, and, Julie Candon, all the dancers from ABT. and city ballet. Some of those are really lovely too. So
Anyone
um,
choreographically? Is there anyone who's inspired you choreographically?
choreographically, well, that's a hard one, I have to say. Believe it or not, Virginia Williams, because she did a lot of things, from what I see. I
Yeah.
love Ballets choreography, I must say, and some of the old ballets, Pettifer, etc. But of the new ones coming up, there's Justin Peck and Christopher Wheeldon. I like what they have to do coming in the present dance world. I think they're very talented. Yes, I like that French man. I like to watch his work too. You know who I mean, Laura. The French, what's his name? He worked with the French ballets, but it'll come to me. So yeah, I like that type of thing. But
That's
yeah,
great.
Balanchine. When you look at his choreography is definitely very, very much high level. So yeah,
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So if
yeah.
you had to say one piece of knowledge, pick one thing that you felt like your students, through teaching youth and adults, or if you want to focus on the adults that you have now, what's one thing that you think that they would take from your class? If you could pick one thing that you think that you really influence your students with.
Well, I guess one thing would be the love for the dance world, especially ballet. I mean, I guess it's time I could say to you, I teach at the Bergen Community College, as you mentioned. I'm an adjunct professor there. And, the students there are wonderful to work with. And one of the things that was said to me one time that sort of said what you're asking me here is, I asked them what did they feel was the best thing they liked about the class, et cetera, et cetera. And somebody said to me, we just love your love for ballet is just so exuberant that it's something we cannot miss. So I thought that's really so true. If I could just give them an understand, I love the classical ballet world. I love the genre of dance. I love all the genres of dance too. That's the one I'm familiar with. So what I want to teach them, and along with that, to know if you have the desire, any desire to dance, perform, today especially, there are so many places where you can do this. When I was younger, it was very limiting. There were just a few companies and you either got to them or you didn't, but now it's like a dance world out there. And there's so many places that you can really, don't give up. Follow your dream. If you want to be there and you want to perform, trust me, there is a place that will be there and it'll be right for you. Just follow as much as you can. That would be one of the things,
I love
that,
that.
yeah, I mean, I was a dancer that I didn't think would be a dancer, but Virginia believed in me and she made me, I loved it. And because of her, I kept dancing. But there are things about me that I would never have worked for today, So anyway, so that just, it's there. It's there.
Just having taken your class and loving your teaching and your classes and always finding so much joy, I can definitely speak to that being completely true. I think your passion for the art form is very eminent, and yeah, and just you definitely pass that on to your students.
Thank you.
And it's a
and,
wonderful thing.
and if you know that, Laura, people say my class is dancey, blah, blah, blah. I must say, as going through the years of dancing, okay, there was an Anton Vilzak. He was a dancer way back when, before David Howard and all that, and he gave a very dancey class. I remember that, and those are the things that stuck with me. I mean, the other teachers, Swoboda and Perislavic, they were all really good, but they were much more technical, which was valuable. We needed to have that. But when I took Vilzak's class, it was like, oh, I really got to dance and I got to move. So that was the thing that I guess I picked up, and that's what I feel when they take my class. I want them to feel that there's been joy in it. Not, yes, work to get what you have to have done, discipline is necessary, all that, but there should be a joy because that's what it's all about. So
Absolutely.
anyway.
And you need that to continue, right? And you
Yes,
have to have that to continue.
absolutely.
This is great. And you sort of answered a couple of the other questions already, but I am going to ask, just going back to your career, what do you think has been the most challenging or difficult or monumental moment for you in your career? It could be performing, teaching, whatever, whatever portion of your career you feel like has been the most challenging.
Okay, well, like most dancers, when I started realizing I was no longer going to be able to dance professionally for lots of different reasons, not necessarily just ability wise, but I was getting married, da da da. So that was a difficult time, and I wasn't sure if that meant that the dance world was going out of my life, which I certainly did not want to happen. So that I do remember that when I first got married, and then da da da. Where am I going? What am I doing? I would still take class. I did a little performing, but there was a transition there, and somehow, and I'm trying to remember how I got involved with the teaching aspect of it, and but then going into that, from the teaching, the choreographic aspect of it, because that becomes also very rewarding for me. I like choreographic class, as you know, I love to do that. And the point is that feels like I'm still dancing. I always say that when I'm choreographing something, it's like I'm still dancing because. So that was the most difficult time. And there are so many dancers today that going from the dance performing end of it to whatever the next career is going to be is still, very, very difficult. And there are lots of books put out about that. I think somebody from Wendy Whalen or somebody made a whole seminar on that. I met with somebody one time. So that would be my most difficult time. But as I said, having moved through it into the teaching, which was okay, but then the choreographing is what did it for me. So
That's good to know.
anyway,
Something that other dancers that could be going
yeah,
through that, challenges
yes,
of wherever they are in their life of where does dance
right,
still fit in, and
right,
finding a way. There are ways that aren't always just performing, that you can really have dance in
right,
your life in a way that provides that joy and that passion still,
yes.
which I think is beautiful.
You know, the arts are very, very important for us. Okay, there's a place for them, and it's like we must be aware of how much a part of our life it really has to be. And it's getting better, I must say, in this country, et cetera, et cetera. But there's lots of things that the world and the time has to offer us, but the arts are really important, whatever they be, the ballet, the dancing, the music, it's so important that we have that part of our life. So I think that's what I'd like people to understand. It has a lot of value to it. There's no question. When
Yeah,
you look at
especially
this
right
par-
now.
this pandemic, well, what's
Yeah,
going on? And in Italy, they're out on the balconies singing, trying to help people. The companies are live streaming. I mean, it's the arts that's helping people keep them going, keep the positiveness, keeping the optimism. It's one of the things. I'm not saying it's the only one, but that's one of them. So we must recognize that there's a place for it.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's such an important part to find that right now with everything that's
Yeah,
going on. Yeah.
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Eh,
I mean, how else that's actually was one of the questions. In what ways do you feel that ballet and the arts right now can help people during times like this, and people that might be thinking about trying something, maybe they've never taken ballet before, or they're just looking for some sort of outlet, how do you think this can help, or how do you,
Well, that somebody used to also say too, one of the things, the best thing to do is to try something new as you get older that you never did when you were younger, because you don't have to compare it to what you used to do. So there's nothing wrong in learning to dance at this age, no matter what age you are, picking it up. It's physically very good and healthy for you. We know that to be the case. It's very pleasurable, and it's something that's very enjoyable. So yes, as I just said, and the point right now, to respect what many of the artists have done in the lives they've given, the time that they've spent to get where they are, is really saving a lot of people today and what's going on. I feel that way anyway. I mean, part of the highlight of my weeks, besides my teaching and etc., is watching some of the stuff on the iPads, on the videos, and that's helping to realize, that it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So that would be my answer.
Absolutely. I think you basically went through all of the things I wanted to ask, unless there's anything else you wanted to add about advice you had for anybody that was looking to do it, something with dance or ballet specifically as a profession, other than just that there's so many more nuanced ways to perform nowadays than there were, and that just to, persevere. That was such a lovely way to put that before. Is there anything else you would want to add to that, or to close out with
No, but
advice for people?
I can reiterate that, because I think the best thing is to believe in yourself, to respect who you are, to respect your own body for what it can do. And everybody has positives part of them. So don't, and one of the most difficult parts, certainly in the dance world and in the ballet world, are when you happen to come upon a director or a teacher who's a little bit overly critical, sometimes they can really destroy a person, which is so unnecessary, and that bothers me a lot. So try not to, if you happen to become upon that, just go somewhere else and find something else. There are a lot of good, positive people out there. But that's the thing, respect who you are, believe in who you are. Everybody has their own, goods and bads, pros and cons, etc. You want to say pluses and minuses, and just try to capitalize on what respect you have for your body. And that will take you wherever you want to go in any of the dance world, be it ballet, which is my love, but jazz and modern and hip hop. And there's so much out there right now. It's all valid, very valid. So that's the only thing. Yeah, I guess that was one of the things when I start teaching, and I teach the girls and I'll call upon somebody to show something and then they'll hesitate. And I always say, I never call you out to do it unless it's good. I'm not going to bring somebody out that's not doing it right. I'm not going to embarrass anybody. That's not my style. You know that. So just be careful of that. And it's lovely. It's just lovely,
I agree. And that's also true for people even outside of the dance and ballet world, right?
Yeah,
to have that faith and that belief and that positivity about yourself is so important.
Absolutely. And everyone that's come into my life, Virginia Williams started, then I had my friend I wasn't close to with, and then I had Lynn Needle, who's been very influential in my life. So all these people have just helped me to grow to a point where I'm very comfortable right now, and I'm getting older, but I'm not stopping, that's for sure. So,
and we are so glad you're not.
Now I have Laura and Nikki, who really keep me on. So it's just very, very, be thankful. And I do count my blessings. My family's been wonderful. My husband was very, very, very accepting of my dance world. I didn't want to travel anymore after I met him, which made a whole lot of sense. But he was very familiar. He's no longer alive, but he was very familiar with the dance world. And so that was really, and in terms of, in terms of people that have influenced me, he certainly has, as you know. And right now, as a teacher of a Bergen Community College, it's very, very special to me because my husband actually built, as the administrator, he built the part of the building over there. He built the theater and everything over there. And I remember while he was building it, I kept saying, oh my goodness, I would love to be here working. And sure enough, I am right now. And he was alive when that happened. So, and I must say, yeah, one of the highlights also was when he, after he passed away, I guess a week, about a year later, and it was Linda Marcel, I must say. She was responsible for me having a memorial concert being held at the Bergen Community College in honor of my husband. And we put on a performance. Lynn and I got together with our company and brought some of the repertoire and some of the things from the college that they had done. And it was a wonderful evening of a tribute to him. And that's really very special, and it's on video, and my children and grandchildren will have that to remember, And here again, it's the arts, that he had a love for the arts as well. He was very familiar with ballet before I even met him. So anyway, that's another wonderful positive of my life.
That's beautiful.
What else?
Well, thank you so much, Olivia.
I'm grappling. Okay, I hope it was okay.
This was perfect. It was wonderful. It was so wonderful and inspiring, and just nice to get that insight into a little bit more about you. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do this and
I appreciate it. And Laura's she's a dream to work with. She and Nick are just absolutely wonderful, and they're running this new school very, very lovely. So I encourage anybody who sees this, please come up, take any of those classes that you're at all interested in. You will never, never be disappointed. It's a lovely, lovely place. So please come. It's okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.